Okay, it is 7 o'clock and I'd like to call to order this meeting of the town board of the town of Northeast. It is Thursday, July 13th, 2023, 7 o'clock. I'd like to ask you to join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes, Supervisor Cannon,
Here.
Councilman Morrison. Here. Councilman Fidelis,
Here.
Councilman Midwood,
Here.
Councilwoman Winkler. Here.
Okay, thank you. You've all received the agenda. I don't have any changes to the agenda. But we may move things around since Warren is not here yet. We may move the wastewater things until he gets here. But with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Well, welcome, everybody. A couple of comments. One is, I want to start with the recent rainstorm, which we had. Dutchess County received an enormous amount of rain this past Sunday and Monday. And as we're all aware, some parts of the Northeast had very extensive and very destructive flooding. Our hearts go out to all of those communities. I had two thoughts. One is that the village of Millerton has a stream that runs right through it, the Weebatuck. And while there was some localized flooding, especially in the town, especially on Sawchuck and Mill Roads, the Weebatuck did not overflow its banks to any significant degree. One reason for this good fortune is the enormous sponge that lies just to the north of the village in the form of that swampy, marshy wetland. Flies primarily on the east side of the rail trail between Vilkey and Red Pond Roads. It functions just as wetlands do, which is that they are capable of absorbing large amounts of rainwater and retaining it for a time, allowing it to drain out at a somewhat slower rate. As we prepare for more and more damaging weather events resulting from global warming, we will come to appreciate the value of our Northeast wetlands. Second, we've begun to work on updating our town and village emergency operations plan. The value of having an updated and very up-to-date plan is clear, and we will continue working on it in collaboration with the Millerton Fire Company and the village of Millerton. This is an important project for us to complete this year. Dutchess County is having a series of senior picnics again around the county. And they have scheduled one for next Wednesday, July 19th. It will be held in Pine Plains on the grounds of the high school. And there are spaces still available for seniors who would like to attend. The new town hall. The closing for the new town hall is on Monday, July 17th, next week. I am so grateful to Jeannie Van Echo, who's been helping us to plan how we can convert a former Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses into an efficient and an appropriate town hall. We will be presenting a plan to the town board in the near future as to how we plan to effect the transformation. I've also requested funding from New York State to help us in this work. Wanted to say a very brief word about the proposed parking lot on Red Pond Road for the rail trail. I've been working with the Harlem Valley Rail Trail Association on getting this property acquired from its owner. It's a small piece of a much larger piece of property. It would be on Mount Riga Station Road, just on the east side of Mount Raga Station Road. And I think it would be capable of accommodating 10 to 15 cars. And we are in the process of having that piece of land surveyed so that we can then start moving it to where it's going to end up, which is that the county has agreed to prepare it. And it'll take some time. I'm hoping that it gets done this year. I wanted just to also offer my congratulations to Mayor Jen Nychak on her reelection as mayor of the village of Millerton. The mayor and I work closely on a number of issues, especially on the wastewater system, which we will be spending time on this evening. It has been great to have such a capable and dedicated partner on this very ambitious and important project. Congratulations also to former town supervisor and now village trustee Dave Sherman on his reelection, and to Lisa Erdner for her election as the new village trustee. Okay. Department and committee reports. Bob, do you have a report for us on things at the highway department?
Everything's going well with the highway department. The next couple, we will be working with the third paver and roller on Merwin Road and Mill Road. Getting them trimmed up so we can get oil and stone with our hours. Bunch of drainage work, replacing culvert pipes and things also to work on in August. Yeah, a lot of side pulling, grass is really growing.
Unfortunately, yeah. And how's do we have any equipment out for repair at the moment?
We have one of the plow trucks that are having a radiator replaced. And another one is getting some oil leaks fixed.
Hopefully not the new one.
No,
Okay.
the second newest one's getting the radiator replaced.
Oh, okay,
And one of the older ones has the oil leaks.
right. Okay. And you're able to get in and out of the new highway garage site during the construction?
They're very good to us. They let us in and out whenever we need to go in,
Okay.
to get out, if they are in the way, they get moved out of the way.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for Bob? Otherwise, thank you. We do not have a report from the assessor tonight. Tilly has provided the board with reports from the planning, zoning, and building departments. Town board committee activity. Recreation committee, Hannah, do you have?
I have a little update on
Okay.
recreation. They were planning to have summer camp this year. They had hired a director. But then the director had a medical emergency and wasn't able to take the position, so there's no summer camp. But they are going forward, they're considering hiring a full-time recreation director for the community that could work activities for the youth, seniors, adults, the whole community. So we're really talking about that a little bit. Now they're ready to do phase 2 and they have the funding for it, which phase 2 is going to be to build a new bathhouse and the pool. However, before any work is started, they plan to have a community meeting that to be held at the annex to get the community's input on what their feelings are, what their thoughts and concerns are. So that's where we're at with the recreation so far. And they had their celebration last Saturday.
Yeah, it was very nice.
The rain held off.
I went to it. It was pretty well attended, not as well attended as they would have liked, but it was still very nice to see the park filled, parking lot was filled. There was spillover onto other properties. So it was very
That's
nice.
good.
Yes, it all worked well. Thanks, Lana. On building and grounds, I've mentioned the new town hall And that's something that I'll be coming back to about. There are lots of aspects of that project that have yet to be planned out. We're gonna be coming back to the board with a plan for how we're going to do this. One of the things which I realized after we got started on this was that it doesn't have a flagpole, and of course, we're gonna have a flagpole. So we will be looking to get a flagpole and finding a way of illuminating it while still staying dark skies compliant. So that's one of my many challenges that we have going forward. In terms of the new highway garage, that, as people who have driven by it will have seen, has really progressed enormously since our last board meeting. The building structurally is complete. The roof is on, the walls are on. The gutters are now in place as of today. The next step on that building will be the installation of the hydraulic lift for the trucks. We bought the lift quite some time ago. It's been stored in the storage building. We were able to buy it just in time to get it at a much better price by acting quickly, and we did have to store it for a while, but it was a very good thing to have done. Then they will be pouring the slab, in other words, the floor of the garage. And then at that point, they're just finishing out the inside, putting on the overhead doors, windows, people doors. They call them man doors, and I pointed out that they are actually people doors. Anyway, it's going well, and I believe that we will be on schedule with that building to have it in use for this winter for the highway department. When we do have that take place, we will be, of course, vacating the existing building on South Center Street. And I get a lot of questions, and I'm sure other members of the board have, of what the town is planning to do with that site. And the simple answer is we haven't determined that yet. But I would like to see that building get raised. That site is in the 100-year floodplain. And one of the reasons that it is because of the building. When there's a flood, that building acts as a huge impediment to water flow. So getting that building down would further reduce the potential for flooding in that area. And then we would have a clear site that we could start deliberating as with the village. The village will have an important voice in what happens with that site. It's a very important site. It's a residential neighborhood. It's immediately adjacent to the rail trail and to the Weevutuck. So there are lots of different considerations that we need to be given to it, but it'll be an interesting project for us to be thinking about, and I'm going to suggest not probably until next year. My plan also is when we do moving back to the new town hall, when we do move, that this building will eventually be vacated completely, and it is my hope to put it up for sale. And in doing so, to help offset some or maybe even all of the cost of the new town hall. So much for buildings and grounds. And I guess I covered highway as well. Communications, has anything more happened? There's been a lot.
Not since the last meeting we had, which I believe you presented on last meeting, so nothing further.
We will continue to improve. It's always happened.
Okay. And Ralph, anything new on cemetery?
Well, it's going slowly, but our solicitation letter was sent out as the Friends of Spencer's Corners Cemetery Burying Grounds. And right now, we've accumulated about $6,800. And the goal is to raise the Dakin obelisk Hopefully next year, that will cost about $10,000. So we're working on that project. But the Dakin Monument is the tallest monument in the burying ground, and it would be visible from the front gate. So it'd be a good project to work on. That's pretty much it at this point.
I think it sounds like a very appropriate way to proceed with that. I hadn't focused on the fact that it was the single largest monument in the cemetery. You know, we've talked about this cemetery before. It is the oldest cemetery in the town, the location of the original town.
And a very important historical person, Dakin. Simon Dakin.
Are there still Dakins in town?
Oh, no, not that I know of, but. I think our research board is looking to see if there are any Dakins around.
Mhm.
Many Dakin monuments there. This is the tallest one.
Okay. Thank you. Warren, we were gonna move well, first of all, welcome. Glad your car is,
I made it.
you made it. You didn't have to hitchhike.
Hmm,
You didn't have to hitchhike.
I was thinking about it.
We were gonna move the wastewater things to the end, but maybe we should just go right through those as a group.
We can.
Okay, well, let me just deal quickly with the audits. Each year, the town is required under town law to examine and audit the financial records of 3 town entities: the town clerk office, the town tax collector, and the town justice court. The board does this by hiring a qualified auditor who is retained by the town. At the end of the audit, the unit being audited is asked to sign a document which states, in essence, that the unit is being audited has complied with all required accounting and audit procedures, and that all required documents were provided to the auditors as requested. On receipt of that document signed by appropriate official or officials, the auditors release their final audit, which then goes to the town board. The board receives the audit and passes a resolution approving it, and this is how audits have been handled in past years. We have last month approved audits for the town clerk and the tax collector. The justice court has provided all required documentation to the auditors, and a draft audit of the 2022 justice court records has been completed. When and if the auditors receive a signed representation letter from the justice court, the auditors will release their final audit, and I will be able to present that to the town board for its approval. Any questions from the board? All right, let's move into wastewater.
Okay, good.
So we have a number of items on the schedule for wastewater. This is, I would say, the most significant town board meeting that we will have regarding the wastewater project. This is really the time when we vote to approve the formation of a wastewater district. So there will be many more board meetings at which we will take other steps. I have no doubt about that. But this one is a particularly significant one. So the first item is a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign an IMA, an intermunicipal agreement, with the village of Millerton regarding wastewater district. Warren, would you like to
Sure.
introduce that item?
So as part of the formation of this district, this is a little bit unusual. The district doesn't involve not only the town, but the village. The village is a very essential component to the entire project, as is the town. But The plant, the treatment plant will be located in the village. And 80%, a little less than 80% of the users will be in the part of the village. And we will be forming our district in the town and working in concert with the village. It will be a joint operation of the entire system. We can't have one without the other. We're expecting that both will be approved by the powers that be, including the state controller's office. That we'll move forward with the project, but it is going to take some time. But one of the essential documents that we have is that needs to be approved tonight is the intermunicipal sewer agreement between the town and the village. And this is the agreement. It's a rather complex document. And it provides for the joint operation of the two systems. So I'm not going to read the whole document to you, but I will go over it with you. The first page is just a lot of preparatory language, and it does indicate that there was a map plan and report prepared for the village of the Billiken system dated November of 2022. And there was a separate map plan and report prepared for the town district dated December 2022. This intermunicipal agreement is authorized by village law, Article 14, Article 12, and Article 5G of the General Municipal Law. Pursuant to this agreement, certain components of the collection system and treatment system required for the village sewer system, as more particularly described herein, are proposed to be designed with the capacity to accept effluent from the town's sewage district at a cost to be allocated between the town and the village. And that will be allocated on an approximately 80 to 20% basis. The second page is just indicating the effective date of the
Warren, just to make sure that it's clear that it's 80% for the village.
I'm sorry, did I say the town? It's 80% for the village, 20% for the town. Second page is the effective date of the I'll just read that paragraph for you. This agreement is executed and delivered in connection with the proposed creation of a village sewer system pursuant to Article 14 of the village law. The construction of all the improvements thereof on the proposed creation of the town's sewer system pursuant to Article 12 of the town law. The town clerk will be required to file the final order. What we're going to be passing tonight is not the final order. The final order will happen after we obtain approval from the state controller's office. With the county clerk's office and the village clerk will be the same. Paragraph 2 simply definitions. I don't need to go over that. Paragraph 3 is the State Environmental Quality Review Act provision. I do want to go over that with you. We have reviewed this before because there was a coordinated review, a seeker review of this project between the village and the town. The village of the agreement was the town and the village opted to become the lead agency for review, which means that they assumed the responsibility for performing the environmental review of the entire project for the village and for the town. And they did so back in January 2023, did a fairly comprehensive environmental review. This has been filed with the town, I think discussed before in previous meetings. I don't have to go over it with you tonight, but I did want you to recognize that the environmental review was performed by the lead agency, which is the village and the town. And the determination was that the project, the entire project, will not have the potential for any significant environmental impacts. And for that reason, a draft environmental impact statement and then a draft and then an environmental impact statement need not prepared in conjunction with the project. And town has reviewed that, and we have endorsed that and reached the same conclusion. So that's mentioned in paragraph 3. Paragraph 4 is the ownership of the facility. It's going to be owned and operated by the village. And the step collection system improvements within the village will be owned by the village, and the ones in the town will be owned by the town. Paragraph 5 describes some detail, the dedicated capacity. The capacity for the town is approximately 12,400 gallons per day. And again, the dedicated capacity is allocated based upon the map plan and recorded of 82% for the town and 18% for the village. Goes on to describe that there'll be final permitting authorities that need to be applied to, and that will be done by the village. There's a provision for additional capacity if at any time the village or the town wants to expand, or provision in the agreement allowing for that. The paragraph 6 is the project planning and right-of-way acquisition. The village will be authorized to engage a project engineer and other consultants as it deems necessary for the village to deal with acquisition of rights of way after consultation with the town. We do have provisions, a lot of provisions in there which give the village power to perform certain acts, but only after consultation with the town. Paragraph 7 governs project construction. And again, the village will be authorized to construct, acquire, install, and equip project improvements, again, after consultation with the town. And the construction plans are going to be prepared by a project engineer, which will be selected by the village after consultation with the town, and submitted for approval to the permitting authorities and all the funding agencies. Budget for the project is attached to the agreement is Exhibit A that was prepared by Ty and Bond for us. That's also the documentation that we're going to be submitting to the state controller. The town and the village will, if necessary, consult about any necessary adjustments to the budget as may be required. Future improvements are governed by paragraph on page 5. And there may be approval by the parties for a budget to increase the improvements, which would be performed by an addendum to this agreement. And the agreement does provide that it can be modified and as agreed between the village and the town. It's similar to the way we operate the village and the town water district. And that's worked out quite well. We anticipate it will work out well for the village and the town. The financing of the project improvements is described on subparagraph C on page 5. And again, that's in the documents that are next as exhibits to the map plan report. The town will be working, this is an important provision. Town and the village are going to work cooperatively to apply for various grants and other subsidized funding for the project to bring down the project costs, which are admittedly high at this point. And any proceeds of any grants that are received will be placed in an escrow account that will be administered by the town, again with oversight. I'm sorry, by the village with oversight by the town. Each party is going to be responsible for the cost of the preliminary engineering reports. All this will be charged back. Any cost for the town will be charged back to the properties within the district, within the district. The village is authorized to contract for planning, design, and inspection of the project improvements, including surveys, rights of way, and other documentation, again, after consultation with the town. Paragraph 10 on page 6 deals with operation and maintenance of the system. There'll be a licensed operator that will be employed by the village. And again, we will be involved in that process in consulting with the town, with the village, in hiring and retaining the services of a licensed operator. The project engineer will be contracted for to provide operation and maintenance manual for the treatment facilities and the step collection components. There are step collection components both in the village and in the town. The maintenance and repair of the sewer system is described in also on page 6 of the agreement. And the once in operation, the operator, the plant operator will maintain and repair the project improvements as necessary. The village will be responsible for obtaining the applicable permits pursuant to the state pollution discharge elimination system. We call them speedies permit. They will be applying for those after consultation with the town. And they will be responsible for keeping those permits up to date and addressing any problems that may arise with regard to the operations permit. The cost of the operation and maintenance of the sewer system are described in paragraph 11. I don't need to go over that with you. There will be user fees and charges with regard to the system. Those will be again charged back to the people within the district, both in the village and the town. Paragraph 12 governs the sewer use regulations, which is important. Those have not been adopted. They will be adopted at a later time. Again, that's something that will be prepared in a similar manner to the way this agreement was prepared with the village consultants and the town's consultants. Let's see. And then paragraph 13 states that subject to compliance with the sewer use regulations upon completion of the project improvements and placement of the same in service, the village agrees to accept and treat the treatment facility wastewater from the town. It's important. But they're not obligated to provide service in excess of the dedicated capacity as we have defined, but that could be amended at a later time if we find that's necessary. Paragraph 4 describes the step collection component, installation and maintenance aspect of the project, including the initial cost and the budgeting for that, and the owner's cost for the septic tanks. The septic tanks, I believe, will be empty as part of the cost of the system, but the property owners will be responsible for electricity and those related costs for their own properties. And there will be, of course, the operation and maintenance costs that are charged back to the project users in accordance with the very complex formula that's described in the map plan and report. The users of the sewer system will be billed for capital charges. They will be billed for user fees. Each system owner, each property owner within the respective districts will be required to have a meter. There is a hookup fee, but that's going to be waived for the initial hookup. Any subsequent installations past that time will be charged a user fee. if the operation and maintenance and other fees that are charged back to the property owners are not paid, there is a provision in the agreement which allows those charges to be made a lien on the property and collected as we would for unpaid taxes. The village, according to paragraph 17, may carry out any and all design, acquisition, construction, contracting, operation, and other activities necessary or desirable for the implementation of the project contemplated by this agreement through its own forces, and or contractors, subcontractors, and agents. The term of the agreement is 40 years. That's the usable life of the system in accordance with section 11 of the local finance law. We have a provision regarding resolution of disputes. We'll use our best faith, good faith efforts to resolve those, any disputes. I don't think we've had many over the past years with the water system. I don't anticipate we're gonna have them with the sewer system. And then there are requirements for indemnification, mutual indemnification, liability insurance, which of course the town will have through its own insurance company and the village will have. And then the rest is just contractual nonsense. I don't know if you have any questions, but I did want to go over this with you so you can understand it. If you read it a few times, it'll start making sense to you. This again was the product of negotiation between the attorney for the village and myself. We think it's a pretty good intermunicipal agreement. It's probably, I think we are going to provide that to the state controller as part of our application. So what we need from you tonight, everybody is in agreement. You don't have any burning issues or questions. I prepared a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute an intermunicipal agreement between the village of Militant, excuse me, and the town of Northeast with regard to the creation of a village sewer system and town sewer system district, sewer district number 1. And let's see what my voice holds out. I'll read it to you. Whereas the village of Militant and the town of Northeast have over the past year studied the desirability and ability to provide sewer service to the inhabitants of a portion of said municipalities. And whereas Time Bond Engineering, professional engineering firm licensed in the state of New York, has prepared a map plan and report for the village of Militant dated November 2022. I'm not going to read this verbatim. And the town map plan report dated December 2022. And where the town and the village are authorized by village law and town law and provisions of the general municipal law to enter into this agreement. And whereas certain components of the collection and treatment system required for the village system are proposed to be designed with a capacity to accept effluents from the town sewer district number 1, as provided in the town map plan report, at a cost to be allocated between the town sewer district number 1 and the village sewer system. And whereas the village of Militant and the town of Northeast, through their respective legal counsel, have prepared an intermunicipal sewer agreement, commonly known as an IMA, which provides in relevant part for the ownership and dedicated capacity of the respective sewer systems, project cost, project planning, and right-of-way acquisition, project engineering, and the construction of the sewer system, the budgeting of project costs, the construction, financing of project improvements, as well as funding cooperation, operation and maintenance of the system, cost of operation and maintenance and allocation of such costs, usage fees and charges, creation of sewer regulations, provision of sewer services, step collection and component installation and maintenance, billing of users, and such other provisions relating to the construction, financing and operation and maintenance of the system, and the joint apportionment of responsibilities and sharing of the costs the same. And whereas the IMA has been reviewed and approved by the supervisor, town board, the attorney to the town, and has been determined to be acceptable in form and content and fair and reasonable to the town of Northeast the property owners within the proposed sewer district number 1. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute said intermunicipal sewer agreement in the same or substantially the same form as submitted to the town board for its review and approval. So we need a vote.
Okay, before you do that, I'd just like to say, thank you for the extensive work that you have put in on this thing so far, and for the extensive work that you will be putting in the future. The IMA, which Warren summarized, I think it's, when I sort of step back from it, it is the initial rules of the road for how we work with the village on establishing this system, which has two parts, the village's part and our part. The important thing for us that we take away from this is that this is owned and operated by the village. They are the responsible party. They have, they really are the lead in this. They will be making a lot of decisions in consultation with the town, but the burden of operating and owning this system falls on the village, and it's just important that we understand that. We're grateful to the village, but as Warren said at the beginning, both parts are needed for this to work. The village couldn't set up a wastewater system just themselves without the town. And the town is not in a situation where we could set up a wastewater system just for the 28 properties on the boulevard. So that's really the overview of that. And I think it's important that we, sort of recognize that that's how it's done. It's very cumbersome and I have to say bureaucratic project. It requires a lot of paperwork and a lot of things which have to be, extensively documented. And I'm grateful to Warren and his associates for getting the IMA to us. I've reviewed it. I think it's a fine IMA, and I hope that we can have a motion to approve the resolution. Which is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the IMA.
So moved.
Are there any other questions though, before we do?
I did have one question.
Yeah.
I did read all 17 pages.
You did?
Yes. A couple times.
There's gonna be a short test there.
Okay, I understand, and I support the IMA agreement. My question was, I know the projected costs are based on estimates for 2024 and 2025. Is there anything in this agreement that holds the village to the timeline to break ground and start it?
A timeline.
To start the actual process of their portion of creating the effluent system?
No, we can't do that to the IMA because they can't start the project until
Unless
it's
we have-
finally approved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the real timeline is going to be when all of this is approved by the state controller's office. And even then, it may not start then because I'll go over this a little bit more when we do the resolution. Starting the process to establish the district. The costs at this point are quite high. And we are anticipating, one of the resolutions you're going to pass tonight is a resolution authorizing the applications for the various grants, which are being administered, that process is being administered by I&B. So it's quite possible, I just want you to be aware that even if we go through the process of getting it approved by the state controller, which could take some time, and the state controller can come back to us, it's not uncommon, and ask us for more information. They may find that there were things that we should have done, we didn't do that. We've heard some scary reports as to how long that might take, possibly up to 8 months. We're hoping it'll be a lot shorter than that. So we can't do anything until that's approved. And then even when that's approved, depending on the grants, which we are applying for now, If they come in and reduce the cost of the system. That will mean that we can probably move forward, both the village and the town, to start constructing the system. But it's possible we may hold off on that until we get enough grants or low interest loans to reduce the cost. But yes, they are, once we have all this done, the village will be obligated to move forward, and the town will. When that will happen will be a decision that we'll have to make based upon how much funding we have and how our ability to reduce the cost, because we would like to, we don't want this to become a burden, or to be a burden to the property owners. So, but yes, it's fully enforceable in that respect, but we all recognize the realities of this situation.
I think it's important just to reiterate something you referred to in your comment, which is that the costs that are projected in the map plan and report are worst case.
Worst case scenario. We have
Any
to
grant that we get reduces those
reduce
costs. We
Yes,
have already gotten
As
one,
mentioned, we
Yeah.
have $2 million.
$2 million from the federal government.
Right,
So-
and that'll be actually put into a pot, and it's gonna benefit both the town and the village, even though that grant. Was the big grant?
No, it's a federal, it's got some bureaucratic title to it, but
That, you know, it's, the grants will benefit both sides on this. But there has got to be a certain amount of cooperation and trust. I don't think the town would have agreed to move forward with this if the relationship between the town and village wasn't as good as it is.
yeah.
I've just been notified we may have a similar thing we have to do in Rhinebeck now, so.
Okay.
It could be more acrimonious. Anyway, if we could get that vote, could I get this tonight, the certified or tomorrow? You're not working tomorrow?
Yeah,
But you need it,
I'm just gonna need two of the resolutions. I don't know when Aaron needs it, but if I could just get this.
well, let's start by,
Let's get a vote.
so. We are,
motion, we have.
yes,
Second,
Lana made a motion, John has seconded,
Roll call.
with roll call, please.
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilman Fidele,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
aye,
Councilwoman Winkler.
Congratulations on that.
Okay,
The next thing that
all right, the next thing is the order.
Well,
This is the order in which I put them
changed
on
it
the
to a
agenda.
resolution.
Okay.
Okay, and it's when we went over the statute, we realized that. Although the order, you can use the term order, the resolution. Language is really in the statute. We don't want to take any chances on. State controller saying we needed a resolution rather than an order, so I did change that.
So this is a resolution establishing sewer district number 1.
That's correct.
Right.
Now, I did notice one error in the document, at the top, it did indicate at a special meeting. Originally, we were gonna pass this at a special meeting, but now it's a regular meeting.
So delete the word special.
So we should delete the word special and just indicate at a regular meeting. Billy, is that all right? Otherwise, it's all
Mhm.
correct, and I'd like to go read this to you with my
Yeah,
voice.
do you want others to read it?
No, I can do that. Let me try, because then I notice things that I.
Okay.
Emphasize.
All right.
So this is a resolution establishing sewer district number 1. Again, as I indicated before, this has to go to the state controller's office for approval. If and when that approval is granted, then we do what's known as a final order establishing the district pursuant to a different section of the Article 12 of the town law. So reads as follows. Whereas a written petition dated May 11, 2023 has been submitted in due form by the owners of taxable real property situate in the proposed sewer district number 1 for the town of Northeast, owning in the aggregate more than 1/2 of the assessed valuation of taxable real property in said sewer district, as shown on the latest assessment roll of the town of the Northeast, County of Dutchess, State of New York, to establish sewer district number 1, which shall comprise that portion of the said town outside of any incorporated village or city and wholly within the town, which consists of 28 tax parcels as depicted on the sewer district map annexed to the map plan and report prepared by Ty and Bond Engineering dated December 2022 as Appendix A copy of which is been annexed to the written petition and is on file and available for inspection in the town clerk's office, and which is incorporated herein by reference and made a part hereof. That's a long sentence. And whereas annexed here to is Exhibit A are the tax parcel numbers of the 28 parcels which comprise the proposed district and its boundaries. And whereas a map of the proposed district is also shown on the map, in the map plan and report dated December 2022 as Appendix A. And whereas a resolution was duly adopted by this board on June 5th, 2023, reciting the filing of the said map plan and report, the improvements proposed, the boundaries of the proposed district, the proposed method of financing, the fact that the map plan and report describing the same are on file in the town clerk's office for public inspection, and stating all of the matters required by law to be stated and specifying that on June 20th, 2023 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the Northeast Town Hall, with the address indicated, this town board would meet and consider said map plan and report and hear all persons in the subject thereof concerning the same and take such action as required and authorized by law. And whereas such resolution was duly published and posted as required by law. And whereas a hearing on said matter was duly held by the town board on June 20th, 2023 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, town hall, and all persons desiring to speak were heard, including those in favor of and those opposed to the proposed district. And I just note that there were no property owners who appeared at the public hearing who stated any opposition to the proposed district. At the number of percentages, well over 50%, I think it's 72, 75%. So that's quite a good number. And whereas the improvements proposed within the said sewer district are consist of a sanitary sewer collection system and related structures, including but not necessarily limited to original furnishing, equipments, machinery, apparatus, types, appurtenances, lands or rights in lands, and incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith to serve the district as more fully described in the said map plan report. And whereas the sewer collection system in the town of Northeast will connect to and be operated in conjunction with the water resource recovery system, which will be constructed in the village of Milton, as described in section 2.4 of the said map plan report. And whereas the village and the town systems will be operated together as described in the said map plan report pursuant to an intermunicipal agreement between the village of Milton, which we have adopted and will also be adopted by the village. And whereas the village of Milton has been designated as lead agency for this project in accordance with the requirements of the State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas the village of Milton has conducted a coordinated review of the environmental impacts of said project and has determined by resolution dated January 23, 2023, that the proposed project will not result in any significant adverse impact, and a negative secret declaration was declared by the village of Milton. And whereas the town of Northeast Town Board concurs with the secret determination of the lead agency, and whereas an application for permission to establish said sewer district number 1 with the office of the State Department of Water Control of Albany in accordance with section 194 of the town law is required based upon the typical cost to a typical property in the first year of operation, which exceeds the limits that's placed by the state controller's office. Now, therefore, upon the evidence deduced at the public hearing and after due deliberation, it is hereby determined that the petition is signed and acknowledged or approved or authenticated as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. That the notice of the hearing was published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. That all property and property owners within the proposed district are benefited thereby. That all property and property owners benefited are included within the limits of the proposed district. And that is, that it is in the public interest to establish said district. Section 2, the establishment of the proposed district as set forth in the map plan report is hereby approved, as hereby described, subject to the approval of the state controller. And the said district shall be designated and known as sewer district number 1 in the town of Northeast, and shall contain the parcels listed in Exhibit A. The maximum amount to be expended for the construction of the improvements of the sewer district number 1 is $2,955,000. That's the town's portion of the cost. And the plan of financing includes the issuance of 2 million, what did I say, 2,000? $2,955,000. And the plan of financing includes the issuance of $2,955,000 serial bonds of the town to finance said costs, and the assessment levy and collection of special assessments from parcels related district, which the town board shall determine and specify to be benefited thereby in just proportion to the amount of benefit conferred upon the same, to pay the principal and interest on said bonds when the same shall be due and payable, provided that to the extent, however, that to the extent any grants and aids are received for said project, the amount of the bond shall be reduced dollar for dollar. And that, just as an aside, we did consult with our financial advisors on this. And Emily Stenson and I are working on the application to the state controller. And we did consult both with our assessor and our fiscal advisors and Marketing Inc. And I just want to indicate that they have indicated, based upon review of all of the documentation that was available and they provide, that the maximum amount authorized is $2,955,000. However, for grants, the town plans to only issue a maximum of $1,442,000. That is our goal, if we can get it reduced through the grants. So just want everybody to be aware of that. And fiscal advisors have issued an advisory opinion, which we will be providing to the state controller, that they have reviewed the map plan report, and they believe that the proposed financing is reasonable under current market conditions. We did, by the way, pass a bond resolution previously, which will also be submitted to the state controller. And the fiscal advisors have indicated that although the town board again has authorized not to exceed the amount of $2,995,000. And we expect the total project cost will be $2,871,000. However, I have to double check that number. However, the town plans to secure grant funding for $1,429,000. So to reduce the bonds, hopefully to $1,442,000. The term of the bonds, even though the project usefulness is 40 years, will be 30 years. And we're assuming an interest rate now around 4%. That could vary, it could be less, it could be more when it actually goes out to bond. So I left off, I think. Section 4. So I'm on section 4.
Yeah.
Thank you. Town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause a certified copy of this resolution to be duly recorded in the office of the clerk of Dutchess County and filed with the Office of State Department of Audit and Control of Albany, that's the state controller's office, in the manner and within the time prescribed by section 195, subsection 1 of the town law, being within 10 days of the adoption of this resolution. And I'll discuss that with you after this. Said resolution being submitted to the State Department of Audit and Control, together with an application by this town board in duplicate for permission to establish this district as provided in subsection 3 of section 194 of the town law of the state of New York, and such application shall be executed by and on behalf of the town board by the supervisor. So with that in mind, and the one change that we made, I would ask for a roll call vote.
There's a section 5 on my copy which says this order should take effect immediately. Is that- Do we remove that?
Yeah,
This
no, your
one?
copy should say we've changed that to resolution.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got an old copy.
You got an old copy.
Yeah, all right. Okay, this is, in a way, a centerpiece of what we're doing, because this is the resolution actually creating water district in response to petitions to sewer district number one.
We have one.
It, I have wondered where sewer district number two is gonna be, but, let's leave that for another time. But this is the vote in which we actually are creating sewer district number one in response to petitions which have been submitted to the town by property owners in the boulevard.
You're starting the process.
Yeah, I know, this isn't the end, it's the beginning. But with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Any further questions? Otherwise, could you conduct a roll call?
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Fidele,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilwoman Winkler.
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah,
Steph.
and we're not gonna ask you to read this, but I just am noting that this resolution contains as exhibit A, the list of each parcel,
That's correct.
all 28 parcels that are in the district. I know you want
Right.
to make sure that we,
In lieu of a survey, we didn't do the survey, that was
Yeah.
cost prohibitive. And we have been advised that that method is acceptable.
right.
Listing.
So the next item that I've got on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the town supervisor, town board, and tie and bond. To execute and file certain grant applications.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that one?
Yes. Okay, so the next resolution for you,
This one is the shortest, by the way,
This is the
to the
shortest.
audience.
but
This
it's
is
very
the shortest of everything we've done so far.
I actually need this as soon as possible too. This, I think we can wait until Monday. It's not a problem, okay, because I have to get I don't know what Aaron's time,
Mhm.
I promised I would get it. So this is the resolution, perhaps maybe the most important. The resolution authorizing the town supervisor, the town board, the engineering firm of Pine Bond Engineering, the attorney to the town and all of the consultants of the town of Northeast to execute and file certain grant applications in conjunction with the formation of the town of Northeast School District number one. Whereas the town of Northeast and Village of Milton are in the process of forming a sewer district and sewer system and sewer district in the Village of Milton and the town of Northeast pursuant to a Village of Milton wastewater map plan report dated November 2022, prepared by Ty Bond, and the town map plan report dated December 2022, prepared by Ty Bond. And whereas the village sewer system and the town sewer system will be operating in conjunction with each other as described in the respective map plan reports. Whereas the project cost of the new systems as described in the map plan report is $13,830,000. That's for the entire system, the village and the town. And whereas the project cost for the town is projected to be $2,955,000. And whereas the proposed project financing for the Northeast Sewer District as set forth as a little typo, it should be set forth in section
Where? I'm sorry.
Section 1 of the map plan report contemplates the frame of such costs through various grants as set forth in section 4 of the map plan report. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town supervisor, town board engineering firm, Ty and Bond, town attorney, all other consultants employed by and working with the town of Northeast in conjunction with this project are authorized to make application for the following grant. 1, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021. 2, NYSSEFC Clean Water Revolving Fund Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. 3, New York NYCDEC Water Quality Improvement Program. 4, USDA Rural Development Communities Facilities Grant.
Typo in rural.
Hmm?
I think there's the typo in rural.
Oh, rural, RUR. Heard that, thank you, that's why I like to read these. 6. New York State Intermunicipal Water Infrastructure Grants, IMG. And 7, all other grants and aid which may be available to the town of Northeast individually and in conjunction with the village of Milliken. With regard to the joint water project and to execute any application forms and any other documents which may be required. To be submitted in conjunction with said application. And if that's okay, I just need you to vote on this.
So
This has been reviewed by Ty and Bob to make sure we listed all of the grants. They didn't get the typos.
yeah. Yeah, there's that
No, I didn't get this.
in the last whereas,
Uh-huh.
2nd line,
Mhm.
set forth instead of set for.
Oh, set 4, okay.
Okay,
Got it. Thank-
okay,
thank
so
you.
with those typos. I would like to entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second,
You got your roll call on this one.
Supervisor Kennen,
Aye.
Councilman Fidel,
aye,
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
and Councilwoman Winkler.
Covered. Let me just see, am I missing anything?
That's everything that you gave us.
Good. The only other thing that I need to discuss with you. Is that, although it does state that the application to the state controller, should be submitted within 10 days after the resolution, that's an obscenely short period of time. We checked with the state controller's office. And they confirmed that they do not at all hold municipalities to that time period, but would like the application submitted as soon as possible after you pass the resolution. We're intending on being very close, if not right on the 10 days. But we did want to have enough time. There's a lot of work involved to put the application together and to make sure we dotted all our i's, crossed our t's. Found all our typos. You have to, the town board and the supervisor have to approve the application before we file it. So what I'd like to do tonight, if it's acceptable to the town board, is schedule a special meeting for July 24th. We talked about 12 noon. At that time, we anticipate that we will have the application to the state controller in final form for me to review with the town board, for the supervisor to sign. I will also have a resolution prepared for the town board indicating that you approve the map plan report and you approve the application to the state controller and authorize the filing of the same. I will be submitting what's known as an attorney's opinion letter, which I'll be carrying on my own letterhead, which will also be filed at that time. So in order to do that, we just need to schedule a special meeting for July 24th for the purposes of reviewing and approving the application to the state controller and conducting any other business that comes before the board. Well, noon on July 24th, 2023.
So let me ask you, would, if we wanted to hold that a little bit before 12, would that be okay with you?
Yes. I just picked 12
Yeah, I know.
arbitrary.
I'm trying to take care of everybody who has
So
commitments here.
what's a good time for?
Would 11,
At 11 is
Would
fine.
work. the question is, have we published anything yet since
No.
12 o'clock that we can't retract?
No, just on the website.
This doesn't require publication, just the notice of, which I prepared in draft form. I just changed 12 to 11. I just want to make sure every board member has a copy of that notice.
I sent out a copy of it already, but I will send out another one with the correct.
With the
time.
amended
Correct, John.
time.
Yeah.
Okay,
That is posted on our signboard.
Yeah.
And on our website, and that you do have to give written notice
Newspaper.
to the newspaper, but you don't have to publish the notice, but you do have to give,
We'll
send a
it to them.
copy.
It'll be actually in time for the.
And that's all that's required.
Yeah. Landon, does that work for you?
Much better.
Is that
Okay.
better?
Okay,
So
so,
we just wanted to, just to explain, we wanted to have a little bit of
Yeah.
flex time over the weekend in case we
Mhm.
put things together.
Yeah. okay.
Good,
So,
thanks.
I would like to entertain a motion to schedule a special meeting of the town board for Monday, July 24th at 11 AM at Town Hall for the purposes which we've just discussed.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved.
Just want to make sure I covered everything. Give me a second. I think we
Covered a lot.
Yeah.
have, when my voice held out, I couldn't do this a week ago. I had a sore throat. Now I can't. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in that case, we're gonna move on. And the next item on my list is the announcement of a municipal land use process grant. The town was invited to apply by Dutchess County for a grant through its land use and economic planning program. Working with Pace University. I would like to ask Edie Greenwood if she could just give us a very brief summary of what this project is.
I'm very excited about. Warren, I have a question though. Should all grants be approved by the town board? Application or grant?
Yeah, this is a requirement by our time bond, they asked. us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better because,
Not all, this,
Dutchess County, put out an RFP.
oh, no, this only applies to this
Oh.
project.
I was, God. But anyway, this happened, it was last summer about this time. And they had a list of programs that they were willing to fund. And I sort of zoned in on this one. And basically it is consultant time from Pace Land Use Center, well regarded center at Pace University, very well known. And we were successful. It took them a long time to make up their mind, but I think they notified us about a month ago that we actually had been picked. And the contact at Pace is a woman by the name of Tiffany Zazula, who I actually was able to work with in crafting my responses. And I can tell you that they're very interested. I'm ahead of myself, interested in working with us. This is a module that Pace has created, and they entitle it Municipal Land Development Process Streamline. And this has been applied in other municipalities. So they've done this before this. And the project description, I'll just read the first line. The goal of this project is to streamline the land development process in our community to improve the predictability, efficiency, timeliness, and quality in the implementation of local land development regulations. Oh, goodness. And the reason that I think Tiffany and her associate Jessica Bosher were interested is that we are a template of a small community. Doesn't have full-time planners, full-time support staff for our various appointed boards. The first, Chris and I have a call next week to actually scope out how we're going to proceed. But the first task is on they get to do this, we don't have to. Conduct initial evaluation and analysis of existing land development process by reviewing local laws, website, the forms, administration procedures and processes, staff, consultants, and board procedures and roles. In other words, they're going to do an analysis of how we work. And that's very exciting because I know from experience that certain departments have very different forms for the same thing, and some require notarization, others don't. So you can handpick what works for your application. And that sort of thing, we just need to standardize. And often Dale over the years has said, we need a roadmap, we need to understand. And after a number of steps, including the creation of a steering committee, then after this analysis, meeting all the stakeholders to figure out the best way to proceed for our community. The final result is a final strategy report with implementation plan. But that's after meeting with the various boards, and you're not left out. Conservation Advisory Board will be asked to basically assume a focus group. And by then you may have an affordable housing board. It sounds to me like you're going to need a wastewater, not board, but advisory committee. So in addition to the typical boards we know we have right now, I would like to view this to encompass additional boards that may not live forever, may have a single task, but still should be incorporated in the system. So needless to say, I'm very excited.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity, and I thank you for bringing it to my attention. One of the things I've learned as a supervisor is that we have boards and committees who operate, with some independence from each other. And that coordination could have benefits for the town. So I think that this project will help us do
Well,
that.
I thank you for your support.
No, I'm very, very excited about it. Okay, the next, and well, I'm just gonna move two other things up quickly. First, it's quick report, if any, on the status of the Habitat for Humanity Dutchess County.
I have good news.
Okay,
We did receive after several phone calls and another phone call today, they notified me that they're ready to proceed. They've done their due diligence.
Oh, good.
Good.
okay, good. Well, I will wait to hear from them. I haven't heard anything from them yet, but I'm sure I will be.
Well, we'll be setting up a closing and I'll keep you informed.
Okay,
That's
well,
good news.
Yeah.
that's great. And I wanted to ask the board to join me in ratifying the appointment of Dr. Kathleen Weathers to the Town of Northeast Conservation Advisory Committee. Dr. Weathers is a very highly regarded scientist at Carey Institute. She lives in the town. And she does a lot of work on various things. You can read all about what she does on the Carey Institute website, but she has the kind of background and knowledge that I think will be very helpful to the CAC and to the town. And I've met her a couple of times previously, and she's very impressive. So with that, I would like to ask the board to, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Dr. Kathleen Weathers to the town CAC.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now, I just wanted to, the last item, last but certainly not least, is the town board has been. We've heard a lot about the challenges of affordable housing in our community. Warren, I don't have anything else. I don't have any need for a meeting with council.
Yeah, when do you think you might be able to get those?
Oh,
Okay, what is the two documents you need? I'm
I think
sorry,
there are three that.
three that you need.
Yeah,
The three resolutions, you want the three resolutions?
Yeah, could
I'll do them this evening.
you mind?
No, and then I'll scan them and just send them to you. to
Send
Scan.
it, yeah, if you don't mind. I have other things for you to fill out later on, but that's, if I can get that to her,
Okay,
I really appreciate it. You've been great. Great. Thanks.
okay, Warren, I think otherwise we don't need you from
All right, I'm gonna be.
here on out, but you're welcome, of course, to stay as long as you
That's
like.
okay,
Um,
long day.
we have been talking about the issue of housing in this town for years. And with very good reason, because housing affordability is a crisis, not only here. We're by no means unique. It's a crisis really across the state, across much of probably of this country. And we, the town, have to find ways that we can insert ourselves productively to encourage the development of housing. We're not going, the town doesn't have the wherewithal resources to build housing. But there are many things which we can do. One of the things we did last year, in conjunction with NECC, was to understand what resources were available to small rural communities like ours, focused on housing, the production and encouragement of housing. And we produced a report with Nan Stolzenberg's help, which I think has been very positively received, not only here, but by other towns. I know that I've talked to town supervisors in Amenia and in Stanford who have commented how useful it was. As you may recall, we had a board member from Stanford who actually came to our presentation. It was a very good first step. And I've been eager to build on that in ways that are productive. And have had a conversation with Christine Sargent and Paul Banks. Paul is here tonight. Good night.
Thank you, Warren.
About ways in which the town could collaborate with NECC and sort of take a next step to build on that, to understand ways in which we can be more proactive in this area. And Paul and Christine gave me the draft of a proposal for a way in which we might work together, starting with either an ad hoc committee or an actual committee, and with the help of the committee to be helped by NECC. And I'm very excited about the possibility of this. I really have enjoyed working with NECC on this. I found them to share my goal of actually doing something which really has the potential to result in something. I'm not as much interested in just endless study or conversations. And they gave me this draft, which I've distributed to the board. And I'm hoping that over the course of the next month, to have further conversation with Paul and Christine at NECC, and would invite any members of the board that are interested in joining me in that. Maybe there's members of the board who have any comments or questions about that. We're not looking to take any specific action tonight, but just putting this on the table as something that I think is important for the town to take seriously. It's, probably way past time for us to do more on this, but better late than never. Yes, Nick.
I'm super excited by this. As everyone probably knows, I've been working with the Tri-Town Coalition for several years. Christine and previous to Paul, someone was involved a lot, and now Paul's really been driving this project with the coalition, and then also been involved with the creation of a housing alliance with our community members. I'm also excited because NECC has the ability and the skill set to apply for grants, and they have their finger on the pulse of the community. So I feel this is a real win-win to all of us to do this. And, ideally, I mean, we're just speaking on behalf of the town. Ideally, it could be holistic and involve the village too, but the first steps, I would be excited to be involved with having a partnership with them for sure. And of course, I would love if we could get grants to move it into zoning for housing sooner than later, and whether that's incremental to start. But, it's a dire need, as you mentioned, for sure. And people in our community really are. They really want it to happen. They're sick of talking about it too, as you mentioned, so.
Well, it's certainly something that has come up in the course of the zoning review committee's work on the Boulevard area, which of course we are well aware is primarily a commercial district, but hopefully with some residential components. But as we, in due course, move to look at the rest of the town, that it will be timely to have had some thoughtful work done on this. So I'm as excited as you are. Any other thoughts from the board?
I'd like to say something about zoning. We need to take some action very quickly on zoning, because I went to the planning meeting the other day, and we were talking about an applicant who's looking to do something in the Boulevard district. And we really haven't done enough in setting the zoning requirements. We talk about how do we get affordable housing in this town with 5-acre minimums? We've got to get it down, and that requires some zoning ordinances. We have to set zoning standards with maybe smaller parcels of property in order to get the prices of building down. It's tough to do without setting zoning. And it's taking too long, actually. It is. It's frustrating.
I agree. I mean, we have to do something to. Even half-acre zoning, because 5 acres for a working family to come in.
They
and
can't
purchase that.
afford it right off the bat.
Absolutely. So we've got to work on that, or all the work that we put in this, if we can't
Yeah.
make the building parcels smaller.
Well, I think this
Not
is,
gonna happen.
going to take us directly in that, in an appropriately thoughtful way. I don't think the way to do it is just to change the numbers and sort of say, we've done it. But to know what we're doing and where we're doing that and so on. So affordability is it's not just housing. Affordability in our community, but in a lot of other parts of our country is a huge issue. Huge issue. So I think that this is, I'm excited that we're at least going to try and work on this. I would ask Paul if you have anything you want to say tonight. You're here. we're happy you're here, but
I don't think so, I'm just
Yep.
happy to hear any feedback. More.
yep, okay, thank you for coming out tonight. Okay. With that. Been there,
Public comment, right?
excuse me,
But we're on public comment.
public comment. Here we are. Yeah,
Two comments. I know that this is based on what Robert was talking about and what was presented to the planning board last night. I know that there's very little or nothing you can do about a general dollar store coming in. But if that store has any negative impact on a grocery store coming in this town, I implore all of you to do whatever you can do to please see to it that general dollar store does not happen. And my second comment, from on 22 from McGee Hill Road down to Huntington, there's some nasty potholes now that are right, you run right over them. And if somehow the county can be contacted to fill them in, because if a motorcycle goes, it's about to bend.
the state, not the county, for
So-
22.
I don't know how that happens, but there's at least two really big potholes. And I don't forget it, and I run over. them.
Heading north on the right side of the road,
Mhm.
those potholes, one after another.
And if a motorcycle goes in there,
Yep.
someone's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
And it's already gonna bend.
It is New York State, and if it was the county, I think we would stand a better chance of getting quick attention to it, but we'll absolutely
Yeah, it's
work to it.
your attention, it's
Yeah.
pretty bad, just a night.
No, I've
I'm sure.
I've seen them.
I'm sure you know.
I've actually been practicing driving a little bit to one side so that I don't hit them,
I can forget it.
but you know, for
I
people
get it
who,
coming here.
yeah. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Moving to the financials. I have a budget adjustment number 5 for the year of 2023. For a fund, an expense increase of $1,355 less a revenue increase of $1,355 for a net of 0. Could I ask for a motion to approve the budget adjustment?
So moved.
Seconds.
You know, some from Zoom raising their hand,
Oh,
you know, for a public comment, maybe.
oh, hold on.
Which still,
All right. I didn't see that. He's not muted.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just want to thank the board for approving Dr. Weathers to join the CAC, which I chair. We're really excited to have her, and she has been active the last couple of meetings since we approached her. And it's just my thank you for acting on this.
Okay, you are welcome, and she is appointed. Is that it? Yep, I guess so. Okay, we had a motion made by Lana, seconded by Ralph to approve the budget adjustment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I have a special abstract dated June 26th, 2023, totaling $11,701.66, broken down as follows. A fund, $2,628.28. DB fund, $9,073.38. Could I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second,
Ralph, seconded by Meg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Send this around here. Signatures. I have an abstract dated July 13th, 2023, totaling $552,004.60. broken down as follows. A fund, $66,189.90. B fund, $305.10. DB fund, $41,162.51. Capital projects, H1, $442,218.36. T and A2 escrow, $1,872.50. Payroll T and A, $256.23. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So
Second.
Thank you, Lana, seconded by Meg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's- That's that. The voucher committee for August. John Goodwood and Councilwoman Lana Morrison. And we have the minutes of meetings of June 5th, 2023, June 8th, 2023, and June 20th, 2023 have been distributed to the board. The minutes of the meeting of June 5th have had some slight revisions since they were sent to you. You have them. So I would like to ask you for a motion to approve the minutes of the town board meeting of June 5th.
Second.
Motion by Meg, seconded by Ralph. To approve those minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
And then, thank you. And then we have the minutes of the meetings of June 8th, 2023 and June 20th, 2023. Which have been distributed to the board. Could I have a motion to accept those minutes?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And with that, I would like to thank you for your patience and working through a lot of very wordy, technically stuff tonight, but it's really important. These are big steps for this community. Not, it's a long march to get the wastewater system here. No guarantees of success. But I did hear somebody who's been working on this, not Warren, but one of his associates who's said that for the first time, they see this thing as significantly doable.
That's good.
So we still have a long way to go, and the village has a long way to go. But we've taken some big steps, and we will take some more big steps on the 24th. And then it goes to the state comptroller. It's, as Warren was saying, the state comptroller has a role in looking at whether it is a sensible idea financially for a community to take on this project. And that's really what they're, when you strip it all down, that's what they're doing, is they're saying, does this town have the financial ability to build itself a sewer system? And that's why it's so important for us to be able to go out and seek grant funding. There's a real catch-22, which is we have to have submitted all this stuff before we can go out for grant funding with the worst case numbers in it. Then we can go out for grant funding. So anyway, this was a big step tonight, and I thank everybody for your work and looking through it and working through it. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is adjourned. Thank you all. Okay, what do I need to sign?
Stuff, 40.
All right, thank everybody who's watching. There's nobody left here.
Yeah.